Hopefully everyone can hear me now. Sorry about that. Just actually had to just change the settings there for a little bit. It's been quite some time. I think it's been almost, well, at least a couple weeks since the last time I was on here. So hopefully everyone can hear me well right now. If you guys can just let me know in chat if you can hear me, that's always greatly appreciated. So yeah, looks like everything's good now. Thank you so much. I already see before we even started, we're already up to 22 thumbs up, and you guys always know that my goal is somewhere in around 30, 40, whatever we can get to, but we are already at 22, and I hope you guys are all doing well. Of course, as always, things aren't going to change. Again, we're going to be coming in with a lot of information today. We're going to be talking about, as you guys see in the title, we're going to be talking about irritable bowel syndrome. But then, of course, remember, it's not always just about irritable bowel syndrome. You guys are free to ask whatever questions that you want, and then we can go ahead and answer those also. Again, what I want to see in chat is if you can just let me know where you're listening from. I always greatly appreciate that. It always really makes me happy to hear that everyone's listening from all around the world, from China to Dubai to the United States and everything like that. But first of all, if you guys can hear me, just go ahead and let me know that you can hear me. It looks good on my end, but again, it's been a little bit of time, so I just want to make sure that the settings are right here. So we'll just keep that up for 1 second. And thank you everyone who's going to be listening to this a little bit later on. You guys know I always end up posting the live streams after we're done here. So you guys will always see them. Usually they're up a day after, sometimes a little bit earlier. But to everyone who's been listening and everyone who's been supporting, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. You guys know how much I appreciate it. Marilyn, great to see you in chat. From Detroit, great to have you in here. And I remember Detroit, Maryland, so thank you so much for letting me know that you can hear me. Again, if anyone else can let me know that you can hear me, that's always greatly appreciated, and then we'll get this show on the road here. And again, we have some interesting topics with irritable bowel syndrome. We first want to talk about what it is, maybe some causes, things of that nature, and then I really want to talk about some foods that are going to be able to help with irritable bowel syndrome, but also some foods that we're going to want to stay away from, things that are going to exacerbate irritable bowel syndrome. And the reason why I want to talk about this as well is we know more and more people are dealing with this type of condition. If you might be dealing it with yourself, so of course go ahead and ask your questions, but I even know a couple people in my own life who are dealing with it, and it seems to be just like anything else with heart disease, with neurodegenerative disorders and things of that nature. It seems like everything is on the rise, and one of the reasons I think that is just because of our diet. Whether it's devoid of micronutrients, whether it's devoid of, healthy macros, so your protein, carbohydrates, healthy fats, things of that nature, adding more and more sodium into our diet and sugars into the diet. So we're definitely going to make sure that we touch on all of that, and we talk about some foods that are going to be helping with irritable bowel syndrome. So thank you so much. I know Deborah was in here a little bit earlier. Marilyn, it's great to have you in here. It's great to have people funneling in here. I see everyone funneling in here. Again, if you guys can just let me know that you can hear me, that'd be greatly appreciated. Just give me a yes, give me a thumbs up, whatever it is. That way I know that I'm not just speaking to myself or just to Marilyn here, even though I always enjoy talking to Marilyn. But I just want to make sure that you guys can hear me loud and clear, because again, it has been a couple of weeks, so I just want to make sure that there's no issues. And of course, guys, thank you so much for the thumbs up. I really do appreciate it. So let's get into it here. I'm hoping that you guys can hear me. Let's get right into it. And thank you again for the thumbs up, guys. You guys are just absolutely crushing it today. I really can't believe it. 25 thumbs up, and we've only been going for a couple minutes here right now. So thank you very much, guys. So let's talk a little bit about what irritable bowel syndrome is. And if you guys are dealing with it right now, please let me know, because I want to know what symptoms that you guys are dealing with. Okay, so what is irritable bowel syndrome? Again, the important reason why we want to talk about this today is that we're finding that, and this is just for Americans, but I'm sure it's the same thing around the world. Doesn't matter if it's in the United States, if it's in Canada, Europe, Asia, Australia, doesn't matter. But we know anywhere from as low as 5% to as high as 20%. So 1/5 of the population, this is in the United States, are going to be experience some sort of irritable bowel syndrome or IBS. You might hear me refer to it as IBS. You're going to be feeling those types of symptoms. All right. So it's a condition that's on the rise, and it's affecting more and more, not only men, but also women as well. Okay. And it can range from minor symptoms to more major symptoms. Wadek, it's great to have you in chat. Thank you so much for joining me today. Hopefully you guys can hear me. I'm still not 100% sure if you guys can hear me. I hope that you can. I see the thumbs going up, and I see you guys posting in here. I see Wadek. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. And I see Marilyn in chat. But again, if you guys can just let me know that I can be heard, that would be greatly appreciated. And again, guys, let me know where you're listening from. It's always great to hear where you're listening from here. Maybe this will help just a little bit. Hopefully getting these settings right. Hopefully that's going to be turning it up a little bit. Okay, so the important part is we know that as low as 5% to as high as 20%. It's the exact same thing that we've been talking about with digestive issues, with neurodegenerative issues, so like Alzheimer's, dementia, all of that stuff, and heart disease. It's all on the rise. So again, this is why it's such an important topic to be touching on today, guys. So 20% are going to be dealing with it. All right. The other important thing is with irritable bowel syndrome, all right, it's really unfortunate because the symptoms are not only significant, but they're going to be disrupting your daily life. So if you're dealing with irritable bowel syndrome yourself, you know firsthand that it's not a weekly thing, it's not a monthly thing that you're dealing with. It's pretty much a daily kind of constant thing that you are dealing with. And again, that's why I wanted to make sure that we talked about this a little bit today. So if we're dealing with it daily, then we would just want to make sure that we're doing the best that we can to help limit some of those symptoms that we're dealing with, all right, and try to not totally get rid of it, but lessen the symptoms. Give me 1 second here, guys. Lyndon, great to have you in here from Trinidad and Tobago. You know what's amazing? I've had a few people from Trinidad and Tobago. It's great to have you in here, Lyndon. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Lyndon, thank you so much for joining me today. So again, just as I was mentioning, guys, if you guys are starting to funnel in, the important part is the reason why we're talking about irritable bowel syndrome so much is we know that almost 1/5 of Americans, and again, it's going to be the same for most people all around the world, 1/5 of Americans, 1/5 of people probably around the world are dealing with some sort of symptoms related to irritable bowel syndrome. Now, let's talk a little bit about what the symptoms are. Okay, guys? So again, I'm not coming at it from a medical practitioner. If you're dealing with these symptoms, this is going to be something that you're going to want to speak to your doctor about. All right. But what are the symptoms? Okay. Some of the symptoms that you're going to be dealing with, all right, for one, you're going to be dealing with cramping. All right. Cramps are usually a huge sign of irritable bowel syndrome. So cramping, constant cramping. Remember, this is almost on a daily basis, guys. So a lot of stomach cramps. You're going to be dealing with abdominal pain. All right, so those almost go hand in hand. Another one is actually going to be constipation as well. So if you're not regular and you're dealing with constipation on a fairly regular schedule, then you might be dealing with symptoms of IBS or irritable bowel syndrome. Now, another big one, and one that we see all the time, all right, is not only cramping, and it's not only abdominal pain and constipation, but a lot of the times dealing with bloating. So excess bloating, all right, that bloating feeling where we're just not comfortable, but also with excess gas as well. Okay, so if we're dealing with that, all right, then we know we could be facing symptoms of irritable bowel syndrome. Now, again, keep in mind, just because you're dealing with these sort of symptoms, does that necessarily mean that you're dealing with irritable bowel syndrome? No, and that's why I would talk to your medical practitioner. Is it a good sign that perhaps you are? I'd say if you're dealing with most of those right now, then again, it could be a good sign that you're dealing with irritable bowel syndrome. All right. Now, one more here. All right. A lot of the times with irritable bowel syndrome, you're going to be dealing with diarrhea. All right. So constipation and diarrhea. It's not uncommon for people who have IBS to have episodes of both constipation and diarrhea. So it's kind of interesting, isn't it? So you're dealing with constipation on one hand, and then on the next, or on the other hand, maybe a couple of days later or a week later, all right, you're dealing with symptoms of diarrhea. All right, and again, these symptoms are constantly persisting. All right, they never let up. All right, you're almost dealing with it, all right, on a daily basis. Not getting through to this video. So Paulette, can you hear me? So if you're not getting through to this video, are you able to hear me right now? And if anyone else isn't getting it, are you able to get into this video? I'm checking my settings. We should be good to go. Everything is the exact same. Good evening from Mumbai, India. Thank you so much. I hope I'm pronouncing that. Say, Paula. It might be on your end. Hopefully it'll kind of pick up there for you. It seems like it's okay for Marilyn, for Lyndon, for a couple other people. But keep me updated, Paulette, because it seems like we're good to go. There's been no changes in the settings that I've been able to change here. So keep letting me know, Paulette. Everything should be good. Say good evening, and again from Mumbai, India. Great to have you. Say, and again, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Marilyn, I don't have irritable bowel syndrome, but when I eat too much lemon that I love, makes me yes, and sometimes that can happen. And don't forget, lemon is you're gonna be getting a lot of fiber, and it's pectin fiber. All right, so soluble, insoluble fiber. Again, that's gonna be keeping you regular for sure. All right, so that makes total sense. Good morning, Clay. Great to have you in here. Thank you so much, and thank you so much, guys. We're almost at that 30 thumbs up mark, so thank you very much. I really appreciate it. So again, let's talk a little bit about, keep going with those signs and symptoms. So we already know, guys, if you're just coming in, we have cramping, bloating and gas, abdominal pain, constipation, diarrhea. Those are the big ones, all right? And the thing is, all right, these are daily occurrences. It's not like it's going to go away. It's not like it's going to get better in 1 week from the next. If you have irritable bowel syndrome, then you know that you're dealing with this on a regular and constant basis, guys. And thank you so much, Clay, for joining me. So that's why we want to make sure, and we'll get into this. This is why we're going to want to talk about foods that we want to eat to help with irritable bowel syndrome, but also foods that we want to stay away from so that we're not making it any worse. Okay, now the other thing is here, all right, guys, if you're dealing with irritable bowel syndrome, all right, the one major thing as well is that you're going to be dealing with pain, all right, and it's stomach pain, and that's something that's, of course, going to be uncomfortable, and I would recommend, all right, again, I'm not a doctor, but if you're dealing with stomach pain, all right, and you're dealing with cramping, all right, and you're constantly dealing with this on a day-to-day basis, this would be the time that you're going to want to speak to your doctor, because no one wants to go through pain in their life, All right, pain can really limit you on a day-to-day basis. Now, when you're dealing with pain when it comes to irritable bowel syndrome, yes, there is a little bit of pain relief after a bowel movement. So after we go to the washroom, all right, we have some regularity. There's a little bit of relief, but it's going to come back soon after that. All right, it's again, you're not going to have a bowel movement. All right, it's going to go away, and then the rest of the week you're good to go. All right. You're also going to see, all right, a change in how often that you're going to the washroom, how often your regularity is going to be. Okay, that can be thrown off a little bit. So that's another thing. So IBS is synonymous with pain. All right. Now the other thing that you're going to want to watch out for, all right, is how our stools are looking. All right. If there's a change in how our stools are looking when we're going to the washroom, that's something that you're going to want to make sure that you're paying attention to, okay? And this can be for a number of reasons. It could be from food sensitivities. It could just be, you could just be genetically disposed to it. So again, make sure that you're looking out for these types of things, guys, okay? I would say if you're dealing with any of this, you have to go and get a diagnosis. So you have to go and see your doctor, okay? So a couple things that you can do. You want to rule out certain infections, all right, celiac disease and things like that. And you might even need to go get a colonoscopy, all right? Those are the things that are going to help kind of diagnose IBS. And thank you so much, guys, for the 30 thumbs up. I'm just super impressed with how it's going, right? How many thumbs up you guys are getting up there. So thank you so much, guys. Let me know in chat, is there anyone who's dealing with irritable bowel syndrome? I haven't seen anyone that's been dealing with it so far, but if you are, please let me know, and then we can go on and keep the discussion rolling from there. Because I really want to make sure if you are dealing with it, let's address it a little bit, and then we can maybe figure out what's causing it. All right, guys. So that's the signs and symptoms. All right. You're going to be, dealing with that cramping, dealing with the pain, bloating, gas, diarrhea, all those things that we don't want to be dealing with on a regular basis. And the important thing for IBS is it's just not one day where you're dealing with it. It's a constant struggle. It's week by week. And if you have irritable bowel syndrome, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You really have no relief from it. It's week by week and month by month. So it's a chronic disease. All right, and if it's chronic, then it's never really going away. Now, before we get into the foods, guys, let's just go over a couple of the home remedies just real quick. All right, so some of the home remedies that you can do. All right, one thing is exercise is going to be an important one, and you guys have heard me talk about this all the time. Regular exercise is going to be helping. And again, regular exercise, we're just shooting for anywhere from 60 minutes to 100 minutes per week. And again, it doesn't have to be strenuous exercise. All right, it can be walks, it can be different things of that nature. And it can even be, all right, a little bit of resistance training. And I've told you guys before, you don't need to join a gym. You don't need to, go and start lifting weights and getting into heavy weights and all of that different stuff. You can buy bands simply just off Amazon. I think they're about $20, all right, and you can do resistance training that way. All right, so a little bit of resistance training is going to help. The other thing, and we'll get into this when we talk about foods that we want to avoid, all right, but we want to cut back on caffeinated beverages. So that's not just coffee, that can be energy drinks, some teas if we're really dealing with high levels of IBS and some of the symptoms, all right, cutting back on that because we don't want to have beverages that are stimulating the intestines, okay? The other important thing, and one more, maybe two more, all right, I would start taking a probiotic. And again, we'll get into this when we talk about foods that we're going to want to be eating. All right, so probiotics is a great one, guys. I would see if we can get those probiotics. If you need a probiotic supplement, by all means, you can take that. Or you can, have plain yogurt. Plain yogurt is a great source for probiotics. I think that's a great one as well. Salah, great to have you in here. Good morning, everyone. I have a lot of banana in my city. A lot of bananas. Well, great. That's awesome. Great fiber in there. Good for you as long as we're keeping them in moderation. Awesome. Thank you so much, Salah, for joining the chat today. I really appreciate it. Thank you, guys. All right. So taking the probiotic, and then the other one, you could, one other major thing is I would try to, again, this is going to be a lifestyle change. Try to minimize stress as much as possible. Okay, so that can be through the regular physical exercise. And again, that could be through yoga, meditation, getting a better sleep. All of those things are going to be helping. Okay, guys, so I think those are some good lifestyle changes. Now, and thank you again, guys, for the thumbs up. I really appreciate it. You guys are really rocking it today. I see 34. It's just constantly going up and up and up. So let's talk a little bit about the foods that we're going to want to avoid if we're dealing with IBS, guys, okay? Because there's some big ones out there. And again, if you're dealing with IBS, you're for sure going to want to be limiting these foods or staying away from them in general. The first thing that I would be staying away from is probably, especially if you have a sensitivity to it, is gluten. Okay, and that can come from a number of different sources. So it can be wheat, whole wheat bread. It can be barley, any type of really whole grains you might want to stay away from. And again, this is especially if you have a sensitivity. You guys know that, I'm not always against getting rid of those foods, but if you are dealing with irritable bowel syndrome, it might be a good idea to get rid of some of those foods. That way you're not making the issue any worse. All right, guys. So if you have a serious immune reaction to gluten, all right, it's also known as celiac disease, all right, and you have a gluten intolerance, it's only going to make the symptoms worse. So what it's probably going to do is it's probably going to make diarrhea much worse, all right, and just create more and more cramping and gas with irritable bowel syndrome, guys. All right, so the first one I would try to stay away from, and we see this through numerous studies, if you are dealing with irritable bowel syndrome, all right, you might want to start limiting gluten. Okay, so start with that. Try avoiding gluten. See how your symptoms improve, guys. If your symptoms are improving while you're getting rid of gluten, then of course you're going to want to be staying away from gluten altogether. Okay, so the first one that I would avoid, probably you would want to stick with gluten here, guys. And again, there's so many products that have gluten in it. I mean, the biggest one that we usually talk about is whole wheat bread. All right, whole grains and things like that. But don't forget about some of the other things. All right, if you have pizza, pasta, things of that nature, okay, then you're going to be getting gluten in that form as well. And I know some of those are very delicious, and it's hard to stay away from the cookies. But if we're trying to get rid of IBS, then we need to make sure we're staying away from that. So if we're staying away from gluten, then what are some alternatives, all right, to gluten that we can be adding? Okay, because there are some grains, all right, that we're not going to be dealing with gluten as much. So some of the ones that you might want to start adding to your diet if you're getting rid of gluten altogether, maybe the most important one, if you guys have heard me say this many, many times, all right, quinoa is a nice one. It's a complete protein. It has all of the amino acids, so that's a nice one. All right, you're getting a nice whole grain from that, and you're getting all the amino acids, so it's a great protein alternative if you're not eating meat and anything like that. Another good one, guys, is actually going to be oats as well. All right, so those are two important ones that generally I'll speak on, all right, depending on the topic for the day. But I think quinoa and oats are probably your best bet. Maybe if I was to throw one more in there, if we were doing a third, maybe buckwheat would be in there as well. Okay, guys, so avoid that gluten as much as you can, all right? Immune reaction to gluten, also known as celiac disease. You guys have probably heard that before. That's only going to cause havoc on irritable bowel syndrome, guys. So make sure we stay away from that. I think another one, if I'm not mistaken, I hope I'm pronouncing it right, sorghum. That can be another one as well. All right, so we got quinoa, sorghum, buckwheat is a nice one. Keep it in moderation to start though, guys, because you could have a little bit of a sensitivity to these types of foods. And then I would go with oats on the next ones, okay? The other nice thing, yes, whole wheat bread can have a little bit of nutrition in it, but these ones that I just listed, very, very high in nutrition, very high in micronutrients. And then also remember, with quinoa, not only are you getting carbohydrates, but you're also getting a nice protein source as well. And same thing with oats. And then the other nice thing is, last thing I'll say on this topic, is that you're getting very, very good fiber intake, guys. Great fiber intake. Like if you're eating oats, tremendous fiber in there. One serving, you're getting about 4 to 6 grams of fiber, and that's tremendous. You add a little bit of maybe some almonds in there, all right? You're really increasing your fiber intake. Now, again, thank you so much, guys. Keep letting me know where you guys listening from. All right. Thank you so much for all the good mornings, but let me know where you guys are listening from. It really makes my day when I hear. I saw Marilyn was from Detroit. I saw Lyndon from Trinidad and Tobago. We have Mumbai, India. Thank you so much, guys, for pointing that out. I just love hearing where everyone's from. And I should say as well, guys, it's been a very, very busy month for me. Just with in terms of not only getting videos up, but getting these live streams up as well. But don't worry, these live streams are not going anywhere. If you don't see me for a week or a couple of days or anything like that, you guys can always count on me that I'm always going to be back, and we're always going to be doing these live streams. Like I said, I've been here for 9 years, about 9 years now. I'm not going anywhere. These live streams and the videos are always going to continue. And in fact, I just put up a video, which you guys might find interesting. It's on turmeric and ginger, which I actually had a lot of fun researching. So I just wanted to make sure I pointed that out, guys, just because it was some time since I had been on. But moving on from there, guys, so let's talk about some of the foods that we're going to want to avoid. The next one, guys, so avoid gluten if we can. All right, add those ones, the ones that are sort of our alternatives to gluten, like your quinoa, oats, buckwheat, all of that good stuff. The other one, all right, is you're probably going to want to limit dairy as much as possible. Rudolph from Toronto, welcome. Go Maple Leafs. Go Maple Leafs. Thank you so much for letting me know from Toronto. It's great to have you in here. Thank you so much, Rudolph. I appreciate it. So the next one, guys, we have gluten, and the next one would be dairy. Okay, so dairy can cause a lot of problems for people who are dealing with IBS. All right, and that can be for several reasons. One, if we could have, again, just like gluten, we could have a dairy sensitivity. All right. And the other thing is, if we're having dairy, don't just think of skim milk. All right. Skim milk is a little bit lower in fat, and skim milk brings with it its own problems. You're getting a lot of milk sugars when you have skim milk. All right. But if you're having things like cheese, all right, the high fat milks, the high fat cottage cheese, things of that nature. All right, I could go on and on. Butter's not horrible, but it's a dairy, and it is high in fat, and that can lead to problems with IBS. The reason why I say it's not horrible is because I always prefer that over something like margarine. Okay, guys. So if you're having different types of dairy, and especially if it's high in fat, a lot of people who are dealing with IBS, you're going to see a huge increase in constipation, in bloating and gas, and then perhaps the biggest one is going to be diarrhea. You're going to see a big increase in diarrhea, and that's just not something that we're going to want. All right, guys, it just makes life so much harder. Okay, because if we're dealing with that type of stuff, if it's on a day-by-day basis, all right, then we're definitely having issues on that day-to-day basis, and we're going to want to cut out some of those foods so that we're not dealing with it. Now, switching to low-fat or non-fat dairy may reduce the symptoms, but if you have a a dairy intolerance or a dairy sensitivity, switching to those low-fat options or non-fat dairy options aren't going to help you, because if you're lactose intolerant or any sensitivity to dairy, it's only going to exacerbate the problem. So you need to make sure that you talk to your doctor, see if you have a sensitivity to dairy, because you can make that change. And like I said before, you're not going to see any benefit whatsoever. Okay, guys? So again, the other thing is, we already know with many people, all right, especially if they're dealing with IBS, they report a lot of people, and especially with studies, all right, there's numerous studies, and then again, I never handpick studies. I always try to pick as many as I can. All right, people who are dealing with IBS, all right, when they add some things like milk and other types of dairy, we see that that's triggering and increasing their symptoms, okay? So is it IBS? Is it being lactose intolerant? It really doesn't matter. If our symptoms are increasing, does it really matter if we're lactose intolerant or we're dealing with IBS? Absolutely not. A lot of the symptoms are the exact same. So make sure that make sure that you're limiting dairy if you are dealing with IBS, guys. Let me just make sure I'm not missing any comments here, guys. And thank you so much I keep saying it, but thank you so much for the thumbs up, guys. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you so much. All right, so again, just like we were talking about with gluten alternatives, what are some dairy alternatives? All right, if we need to cut out dairy completely, there are other foods that we can add. All right, and these are probably going to be foods that are rich in calcium, because dairy, as you guys probably know, one of the best sources of calcium out there. All right, so there's tons of things that you can add. Nuts, seeds, a bunch of different greens like dark leafy green vegetables. Those are going to be super high in calcium. I know broccoli for one, spinach, kale, all that good stuff is going to be super high in calcium. And the nice thing is, if you're having if you're having broccoli and dark leafy green vegetables, all right, you're going to be getting a ton of micronutrients. So calcium, of course, is going to be a big one. All right. Sometimes people will add beans and things of that nature, like we're not talking about green beans. We're talking about like black beans, navy beans, red kidney beans, things of that nature. Again, that's a nice one because that's a nice meat alternative. I don't think there's an issue with adding those as well. Okay, guys? And at the end of the day, too, if you want to start increasing calcium, all right, another nice thing is you can supplement with calcium. You can take a calcium supplement. All right, so there's tons of options out there. If you're not eating dairy and you're scared of not getting the right amounts of calcium, or you think you're low in calcium, all right, you can add those foods that I just listed, or you can just supplement with a calcium supplement. Sorry, guys, as I just drink a glass of water here. All right, so let's go to our next one, guys. Now, here's the big ones. All right, here's the big ones that we're definitely going to want to stay away from. All right. One of the biggest one is going to be fried foods, guys. All right, so your fast foods, things of that nature. Fried foods are only going to wreak havoc on your stomach, especially if you're dealing with IBS. All right, and it's just so common. And a lot of the times people will say it's common for a Western diet, but it's really common all over the world now. All right, we're seeing fast food all over the world. Maybe people are eating a little bit more in the United States, but we don't, or in the Western part of the world. But again, we don't just want to discriminate against those individuals. We already know that people are eating fast food all over the world. Maybe maybe not so much in the same volume, but we do know that fried foods are now being consumed all over the world. We know McDonald's is a global company. We know Subway, global company. All right, and the reason why I bring up Subway, the meats in those Subway sandwiches are just full of nitrates, and that's going to wreak havoc on your stomach and exacerbate IBS, guys. Okay, so if you're eating too much fried foods, again, it could be French fries, things like that, other fried foods, fried chicken, things of that nature. For one, super high in fat. All right. And if it's super high in fat, it's going to be super hard on the digestive system, especially for people with IBS, irritable bowel syndrome, guys. So make sure that we're keeping our fast food in check. All right. And the other thing is too, if we're eating fried foods, okay, we're basically changing the chemical makeup of the food. All right. So when we're changing the chemical makeup of the food, guess what tends to happen? It makes it more and more difficult and more harder for us to digest these foods. All right. So if we're already dealing with bloating, constipation, excess gas, abdominal pain, all right, then we already know it's only going to exacerbate IBS symptoms, all right, and make it very uncomfortable for the digestive system. Okay. Now, like the other ones for gluten and for dairy, there's really not many substitutes that we can add to fried foods. I think what we need to do is just kind of eliminate them or eat them very seldomly, maybe like one time a month if we can. All right. I know sometimes it can be tough. And remember, we're not judging anyone here. Everyone is different. All right. It might be a little bit more for you right now, but if you're dealing with IBS or just dealing with health in general, all right, we're going to want to start cutting down on those fried foods as best we can. All right. A lot of times people will point out French fries, but it's fast foods too, guys. And thank you so much for the Sometimes I go on rants. You guys know this by now. You have to. We've been doing this for 6-7 months now. I'm not exactly sure. But sometimes I'll go on my rants and I'll look back and then I see 40 thumbs up here, guys. Thank you so much for the 40 thumbs up. I really appreciate it. You guys it's just such an amazing community. I love this community. And just the support that you guys show me. So thank you so very much. Thank you so very much. And like everyone was saying here, good morning to everyone. Good afternoon to where you are, and good evening to you as well, wherever you are, because I know we have people all over the world. All right, guys. So try to limit the fried foods as best as possible. Now, here's the next one, guys. Okay, the next one, and I know it might be a little bit tough for some people, because I'm a big coffee drinker. Not a ton. I have maybe like 1 or 2 a day. I've really been cutting back lately, to be honest. I've cut back from having maybe an extra cup or 2 of coffee to having chamomile tea. And I've really been enjoying that. But if we're having a ton of caffeinated drinks, so think about your morning coffee, maybe your mid-afternoon coffee, maybe even your coffee in the evening. All right, if we're having all these coffees, then we know that it's going to lead to digestive issues just a little bit. All right, and even worse than coffee, yes, coffee can have some health benefits. We know that as long as we're keeping it in moderation. But the real problems are going to come if we're having things like caffeinated drinks, sodas, energy drinks, I should say. And what the other one that I wanted to point out is soda. So coffee, soda, energy drinks, anything that contains caffeine, all right, it's always going to be a trigger for people with IBS. Deborah, great to see you in chat. Oh, look at this. I'm missing a few chats here. Deborah, great to see you. Good morning to you. I hope you're doing well. Thank you so much for all the nice comments you've been leaving on the channel. Thank you so much. Mel Firestone, hello. Thank you for this information from Northwest Ohio. All right. Thank you very much. And my pleasure. No problem. Always love bringing this information to you. And go Buckeyes. I don't know if you're a Buckeyes fan, but I know most people from Ohio are. And thanks again, Deborah. It's great to see you in chat right now. And I always appreciate the support. Thank you so much, guys. All right, so the one big thing that we're going to want to limit, especially if you're dealing with IBS, all right, if you're dealing with irritable bowel syndrome, all right, the more caffeine, again, it can come from coffee, and coffee can be a little bit acidic, all right, so that can cause a little bit of problems, all right, with our stomach and with the intestines as well, stimulating the effect of the intestines, which again can cause diarrhea, can cause bloating and gas, things of that nature. But again, if we're having soda and energy drinks, all right, that's a huge trigger for people who are dealing with IBS. All right, huge trigger. All right, I would try to stay away from them completely, guys. All right, so, one or two coffees, if you can keep it in moderation, as long as it's not, exacerbating the problems too much, then we know, all right, we can maybe have 1 cup of coffee here and there, and then we'll be okay. Thank you for good information about the food. Oh, my pleasure, Salah. Thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it. All right, guys, so watch out for those caffeinated drinks. That can be a big trigger for people with IBS. Now, here's, again, the other big one, guys. We talked a little bit about our fried foods and things of that nature. The other thing that we have to be careful with is processed foods. And I know, again, that can be hard, especially at nighttime. All right, whenever I'm working with clients, I always discuss their diet during the day. And I always make sure that I leave room at the end of the day, so at nighttime, where we can talk about nighttime snacking and things of that nature. So if you're doing that, you're not alone. And again, no judging, nothing like that. Again, you're not alone. So with processed foods, all right, the things that we want to stay away from, guys, are the things that we've been talking about throughout these streams. All right, we want to make sure that we're limiting sodium. All right, sodium is only going to make IBS worse. Again, are you going to get rid of sodium altogether? No, it's impossible. All right, but we want to get rid of added sodium, added salt into our foods, not adding foods into it. All right, the next one is going to be sugar. All right, sugar. Sodium and sugar, guys, two of the worst things that we can have. It's going to be no nutritional value whatsoever. All right, it's probably going to make you feel horrible because, one, it's going to dehydrate you. All right, a lot of people think that sodium and salt are going to be dehydrating you, but it's also going to be sugars as well that are going to be a huge dehydration. All right, and triggering the intestine response. So making sure that we're getting, or at least limiting, added salt, added sugar. And then for our processed foods, the next one is going to be fat. All right, if it's fat, remember, we want healthy fats. We need healthy fats in our diet. So healthy fats would be something like monounsaturated fat, polyunsaturated fat, omega-3s, omega-6s, and omega-9s. All right, those are the good fatty acids. All right, so what are some examples, all right, of processed foods that we might want to try limiting here, guys? And you guys can probably guess. All right, I'm sure, this isn't news to some of you guys, but maybe some of these ones might come as a surprise. The first one, probably not. The first one's potato chips or chips in general. Okay, no nutritional value, very high in salt. Okay. The next one, all right, and again, a lot of people will make sandwiches with processed meats and things like that. I have clients that will, want to add like a turkey sandwich if it's a processed meat. But those processed meats, guys, are very, very high in sodium. Okay, very high in sodium, high in nitrates, all right, and very low in nutritional value. The reason why they add them is because they think that it can be a little bit higher in protein, and if they're trying to get their protein up, the first thing they go to is the processed meats. But if you're trying to get the protein up, you're going to want to stay away from those meats. There's not a ton of protein in them whatsoever. In fact, it's going to be mostly fat that's going to be in them. And then, anything that's frozen. Anything that's frozen, guys, like pre-made frozen meals, one. And then anything that's canned is going to be another one, guys. So any canned foods or anything of that nature, all right, there's usually preservatives, added salt in those. So making sure that we're staying away from those types of foods as well. Now, thank you so much, guys. It's so funny because with my thumbs up, right now when I hover over it says 19 thumbs up. I'm not exactly sure how many it is right now. I might be stuck at 41. I'm not 100% sure. Sometimes it goes up for me, sometimes it goes down. But again, I just want to thank you guys for all of the support. Excuse me. So let's go on to the next one. We'll do a couple more, guys, where we're going to want to stay away from, and then I'm going to want to talk about some of the ones that we should be adding into our diet. Now, another one that's not going to come as a surprise, and maybe I should also say just for the processed meats. Again, guys, I've already touched on this, but we have added preservatives, all right, which are in like processed meats, frozen meals, chips, deep fried foods can even be included in there. Again, there's tons of additives, tons of preservatives, and tons of sodium. All right, and again, what's that going to do? That's going to create triggers through IBS and even IBS flare-ups. And when we have those flare-ups, very, very painful, because that constipation, that bloating, and gas is just going to get worse and worse. So it's very tough. I would stay away from those processed foods altogether, or as best as you can, guys. Oh, you see 32. See, there you go, Mel Firestone. It's so funny. Sometimes I'm behind. I'm glad you guys are there to kind of keep me in check and keep me updated. So thank you so much, guys. I really do appreciate it. And I just want to say too, again, just for anyone who's coming in here, these live streams are going to keep going and going and going. If I miss, July was just one of those months where it was just nonstop clients. I just could not get a free moment where I could get on here for a couple hours. Working during the week and then even working on the weekends. But now as we're starting to slow down, we'll make sure that we get these live streams in, because I really enjoy them, and I hope you guys are getting a lot out of them as well, especially with irritable bowel syndrome. Like I said, guys, it might not seem like a big deal. You might not have it right now, but we know that just in the United States, and it's probably going to be the same all across the world, up to 20% of people are going to be dealing with symptoms of irritable bowel syndrome. And with that comes constipation, stomach pain, bloating, gas, diarrhea, things of that nature. So it's super, super important that we talk about it, because it's right up there with heart disease. All right, right up there with heart disease. Maybe not quite as high as heart disease, but it's catching up there. All right, it's catching up there. So it's a very, very important topic. And thank you so much, guys, for showing me the support on the video that I put up today on turmeric and also ginger. I'm glad that you guys are enjoying it. So let's continue here, guys. Our next one that we want to avoid, maybe it's not going to be a surprise. The next one will be a surprise to you guys. All right, the next one will definitely be a surprise. I'll just go through this next one quick because I want to get to the next one after this. We already talked about sodium, processed foods, all of that stuff. All right, dairy. Those are going to be the ones that are going to be the major triggers for IBS. The next one, which again is going to be a common trigger for IBS, are alcoholic drinks, guys. If you're dealing with IBS and irritable bowel syndrome, at the very least, you're going to need to keep it in moderation. And moderation in this form with IBS and everything like that, all right, it's going to be like 1-2 drinks a week, okay? Because it's a huge trigger for people who are dealing with IBS. All right, I know it can be very tough, all right? Very tough if you enjoy, having a drink every now and then. But if we're not limiting it, we're only making irritable bowel syndrome worse, all right? And then over time, it's just going to get worse and worse and worse as well, okay? Because it's affecting the intestines, all right? That's where it's the inflammation through the intestines, all right, where we're going to be getting the irritable bowel syndrome symptoms, all right? So if we need to make sure that we're limiting alcohol as much as possible, guys. All right, let me catch up on a few. I know it's kind of off topic, but I need to ask, do you have any clients diagnosed with IBS who have gotten pockets of the bowel or diverticulitis? Okay, well, that's an interesting question there, Mal Firestone. I haven't had any clients that have had that. We've been lucky where that hasn't happened yet. I think for one, diverticulitis, you need to go and see your doctor, okay? Like I said, I haven't seen it. Luckily, we've been able to keep it in moderation just because we've been limiting some of these foods. All right. But if you're dealing with diverticulitis, that's something that you need to be talking to your doctor about, Mal Firestone. That's a great, great question. Okay. So, dealing with IBS problems and things like that, or pockets of the bowel, I haven't seen anything of that nature. So again, if you're dealing with that, and especially, I can only imagine the pain that you're going through, if you're dealing with pockets of the bowel and especially diverticulitis, you need to be able to go. I know I have friends who have dealt with that. No clients of mine have, but I know friends that have diverticulitis, colitis, things of that nature. And the first thing that you would always recommend to them, Mel Firestone, is to always go see a doctor, because you need to go and get that treated. All right, and you need to, make sure that you have that under control. So thank you so much for the question. Hopefully, if there's other people who are kind of thinking along the same thing, then you need to make sure that you're dealing with that. Ravi Lover, hopefully Ravi, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Hello, interesting, first time viewer. Well, thank you so much for viewing. I really appreciate that. It's great. I always find that when we do these live streams, I'll always get a couple people who are first time viewers in here. And it's always great to have you guys, and I'm glad that you're finding it interesting, Ravi. So thank you so much. I appreciate the support and having you in here. Mom had both, so just had to ask. No seeds or tough. Yes, seeds. Seeds can be a tough one. All right, seeds can be a tough one just because they're a little bit harder to digest. Has your mom seen a doctor, Mel Firestone? If not, I would definitely recommend that if she hasn't, because I know that can be very tough. So absolutely, I appreciate you asking. So no problem at all. This is off topic, but have you ever done lives on foods is drinking those with cancer? That's an interesting question, Deborah. The one thing that I try, just because, again, I'm coming at this not from a medical point of view. I just don't feel 100% comfortable talking about cancer. Do I know foods that have the potential to help? Yes, I do, but I just, again, don't feel comfortable getting into those foods and talking about anti-cancer foods and things like that. Literally in almost every single video, Deborah, we see anti-cancer foods, things that can help, prevent cancer or, reduce the risk of certain types of cancer. But if you watch my videos, I never, ever talk about cancer or preventing cancer in my videos. Again, I just don't feel comfortable talking about that. Other channels might. I just don't feel comfortable talking about that, just because, again, I'm not coming at it from a medical practitioner, and I just don't want to give, let's say broccoli and things of that nature. Of course, healthy foods are going to be helping that. And dealing, helping to prevent that. But again, sometimes, genetics play a huge role in it. I would hate to say, eat broccoli and then that's going to be your prevention to cancer. I just don't feel 100% discussing that. So great question there, Deborah. I really appreciate you bringing that up, just so I can get that out there. But that's kind of where I stand on it, and I would always have you go and see a medical practitioner. So understand. Thank you. Oh, my pleasure, Deborah. Thank you again for bringing that up, and I hope you guys can understand where I'm coming from that. So thank you again, Deborah. I really appreciate that. She had to have bowel removed. Absolutely. Diverticulitis, usually a lot of the times that can happen with colitis and things like that. Passing away from cancer a couple of years ago. Not trying to scare it. No, not scaring anyone, Mel. I'm very sorry to hear that. That she ended up passing. I was very sorry to hear that. But and then again, that's why I always say. That's why I always say speak with your medical practitioner, especially when it comes, and you just said it right there, when it comes to cancer and things like that. I would always recommend and always sort of source it out to your medical practitioner. Some people might not like hearing that because they like the natural foods and things like that. But you would always want to go and see a doctor if you're dealing with that type of thing. So again, sorry, Mel. Hope you're doing good. And definitely not scaring anyone. It's a good thing to point out. So thank you very much, and thank you, Deborah, to you as well. Okay, guys. So again, with the alcohol, again, we need to keep the alcohol in moderation. Why? Because alcohol, one, you're going to be dehydrating your body. All right. And if we're dehydrating the body, all right, then we're dealing with improper digestion. If we're dealing with improper digestion, all right, that's what IBS is all about. All right, you're only exacerbating the effects of irritable bowel syndrome if we're not getting that proper digestion. Okay, so it's very hard for the body to digest that alcohol. And for one, especially if we're dehydrated, all right, that's why we get hangovers, all right, and that's why we don't feel very good after drinking alcohol, all right. So it can be anything. It doesn't matter. And the thing too with if you're saying, like, if you're drinking beer and things like that, a lot of the times any types of beer, or it doesn't even matter about wines and things like that, but beer for certain contains gluten. And if you have a gluten sensitivity, this was already one of the ones that we brought up. If you're dealing with gluten, that's only going to exacerbate IBS. And now the things with wines and mixed drinks, things of that nature, say you're mixing it in with like soda or anything like that, again, that has high amounts of sugar, and we already just said that we want to get rid of that processed food. Sugar is going to be making it a lot tougher for you when you're trying to get rid of irritable bowel syndrome symptoms. So just be careful with alcohol, guys, okay? Keep it in moderation. Limit alcohol as best that you can, or that way you're able to reduce the symptoms that are related to IBS, all right? I will say I almost don't even like bringing it up, but if you're going to have a mixed drink, it's got to be like plain seltzer in there. If you're having the sugary drinks or anything of that nature, again, you're only exacerbating the problem. I would just do maybe the smartest thing, guys, is just limit alcohol as best you can. Oh, my pleasure, Mel. My pleasure. Thank you again for chatting on foods that can help high cholesterol and constipation. All right, Ravi, we'll get into that in a second. So for one that we had today, ginger can actually help bring down high cholesterol. So if we're trying to bring down high cholesterol, and maybe some other people, maybe some other foods, or some people who are wanting to bring down high cholesterol, all right, things that we want to kind of include, one would be, avoid trans fats at all costs, all right. Foods that you would want to include would be things that are high in fiber. Hopefully you guys are getting a little bit out of this as well. I'll go through the high cholesterol foods as well. One, I think that is kind of going to be good for both of them. If you're having fiber, Rafi, if you're having things like oats, you're reducing cholesterol. Oats are very heart healthy, and you're also getting fiber, both soluble and insoluble fiber, so you're reducing constipation from there as well. All right, so I would stick to both those soluble fibers, all right, and then I would also stick to oats because it's going to help reduce high cholesterol. All right, so high fiber is going to help lower cholesterol levels, and it's also going to help promote digestive health. Again, both soluble and insoluble fiber. You hear those all the time, but there's also pectin, there's resistant starch, things of that nature. Let me list off some cholesterol-friendly foods and also fiber foods: nuts, seeds, and legumes. So beans, all right, so keep them in moderation. So keep nuts and seeds in moderation. Those are going to be very healthy for you, especially when it comes to the question that you asked. Beans are going to be great because they're super high in fiber and they're very healthy for our heart. Another one, again, we already said oats, but then you're also going to want to have things like flax seeds, Brussels sprouts are a good ones, and blueberries. You guys hear me sing the praises of blueberries all the time. If I was to list one more, it would probably be raspberries, guys, or blackberries as well. So blueberries, raspberries, blackberries, and then maybe if you want a fourth one, you could throw strawberries in there as well, guys. Okay, and then you got fatty fish. Fatty fish. We talk about this a lot as well. So mackerel, sardines, and salmon. I hope I didn't list those too fast for you, Rafi, or for anyone else, but those are some good ones that I would recommend for foods that can help with high cholesterol. And don't be scared of eggs, guys. Don't be scared of eggs, because a lot of people are scared with eggs and high cholesterol, but we already know for eating eggs, all right, and foods that are higher in cholesterol, all right, the foods that we intake, if they're a little bit higher in cholesterol, has very little impact on our serum cholesterol levels. Okay, so what that means is it's not raising your cholesterol levels, or it's not having a great impact on your cholesterol levels. The biggest thing is your lifestyle. All right, are you living a sedentary lifestyle? Are you eating fatty foods? Are we overweight? All right, and again, are we not getting any exercise? Things of that nature. And again, if we are overweight, it's not to be judgmental. All right, it's just one thing that we have to take into consideration. All right, that's how we're gonna be increasing high cholesterol. That's gonna have way more. That's gonna increase cholesterol way more than eating things like eggs. I eat eggs every day, guys, and my cholesterol is totally fine. That's just one person, all right? But a lot of my clients do the exact same thing, and they're very healthy with their cholesterol levels. The one thing I will point out, though, some people are a little bit more genetically disposed to having high cholesterol, so you just have to be careful with that, guys. Now, the last thing that I'll point out before we get into some foods, all right, that we're going to want to add to help deal with IBS. The last thing, and it might be a little bit surprising to some people, all right, because I always sing the praises of these two foods, but if you're dealing with IBS and you're really having problems with stomach pain, with irritable bowel syndrome, anything of that nature, you're going to want to limit or stay away from garlic and onions. All right, garlic and onions, both of the same family. All right, the reason why is because it's very difficult for your intestines to break down garlic and onions. All right, and we also know that they have sulfur compounds. And what the sulfur compounds do, they create excess gas in the intestines and throughout the stomach. So if we're getting excess gas, we already know one of the major things for irritable bowel syndrome is bloating and excess gas. All right, it's only going to exacerbate those two problems. All right, so if you're eating garlic and onions and you're dealing with irritable bowel syndrome, you can get very painful cramping, all right, and gas, especially from raw garlic and onions. All right, the cooked varieties aren't much better. All right, but garlic and onions are going to be one of the things that you're going to want to stay away from, or at least limit them to the best of your ability. So that might be one that's surprising to you guys, and that's why I like bringing it to you, because it's not one that we always think about. We always think, you guys have heard me sing the praises of garlic and onions pretty much in every stream. Garlic is very healthy for our heart. It's one of the best heart healthy foods that we can eat. But when it comes to irritable bowel syndrome, we always have to kind of be adaptable and make sure that we're eating the foods that are going to help with, say, things like irritable bowel syndrome, all right, neurodegenerative disorders and things of that nature. So just be careful of garlic and onions if you're dealing with irritable bowel syndrome. Very tough to break down, and you're only going to be increasing gas and things of that nature. All right, guys, let's get into some foods that we're going to want to eat if we're trying to improve irritable bowel syndrome. So we already know if we're trying to improve irritable bowel syndrome, all right, those are the foods that you're going to want to stay away from. All right, we've already been talking for about an hour, guys. All right, I hope you guys are enjoying the chat. We've been going strong here. I feel like I'm kind of on a roll. I don't feel like I've missed a beat after not being here. I think my last one was almost a month ago, maybe longer. All right, but again, they're gonna continue to keep growing, continue to keep going, and we're gonna get onto our regular schedule here, guys. So lots of value. That's always my main thing, getting as much value to you guys as possible. And don't be afraid to ask some questions, guys. I'd be happy to answer questions for you as well. Thank you so much for answering my question. The foods you said. Oh, my pleasure, Rafi. No problem at all. Thank you so much, and I'm glad that you're getting some good information, and I appreciate you being in chat. So thank you so much to you as well. And I'm glad that some of these foods are helping with you here. So thank you guys. And we're at 48 thumbs up. I think it's 48. Sometimes I'm not sure exactly, but it seems like we're at 48 right now. So thank you so much, guys. We're almost at that 50 mark, right as we're leading into some foods that we're going to want to increase, especially if we're dealing with irritable bowel syndrome. So let's start with the first one because I already mentioned this one. The first one, guys, all right, is going to be eggs. Why? They're a nice, safe choice for someone who is dealing with irritable bowel syndrome. For one, they're very easily digestible. Okay, so that's what makes them the safe food. All right. The other nice important thing is you can eat them a number of different ways. Eggs are very, very easy to eat. You can have them hard boiled, you can have them scrambled, poached, omelets, many different things. And the nice thing too is you can have from breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It does not matter. Okay, so eggs are a nice one. All right, you can eat those. I would stick to one whole egg. Again, I would stick to one whole egg just because that's where all of the nutrients are. Okay, so if you are gonna have eggs, I wouldn't just have the egg whites. I would also have the whole egg. Okay, guys. So make sure that you're doing that. Let me just answer this one question here. Thank you, Birdman, for asking this question. Is Crohn's disease a type of irritable bowel syndrome? Well, very interesting. From my research, what I found is, all right, there hasn't been really. We know that they're both serious conditions. All right, Crohn's disease. Of course, can be a serious condition, and so can IBS. It's going to affect you day to day. All right. If it's affecting you day to day, then we already know that that's a serious issue. All right. With IBS, we have to consider, guys, IBS is a syndrome, not a disease. All right. It affects the function of our bowels. That's why the whole time we've been talking about the intestines, all right, in our bowels. All right, I haven't really seen any evidence that IBS can progress into any other type of disease or complications, sort of like Crohn's disease. All right, so are they the same? I would say no. Okay, again, I would speak with a medical practitioner about that, but just from things that I've read, all right, can it turn into Crohn's disease? I just haven't seen any evidence where IBS can progress into an actual disease like Crohn's disease or colitis and things of that nature. So, very different symptoms. Different symptoms. You're gonna have different types of sort of the definition of exactly what they are. So I hope that answers your question there, Birdman. But I would just keep in mind that irritable bowel syndrome, that's sort of a condition, whereas and not a disease. Whereas Crohn's disease is going to be a disease, of course. It's right in the name there. So hopefully that helps answer your question. And again, I just haven't seen any evidence that suggests that one can turn into the other. A lot of people deal with irritable bowel syndrome, like I was saying. It's at least 20%. I can't think off the top of my head. I could be wrong, but I don't think that there's going to be 20% of the population who are dealing with Crohn's disease. It's going to be a little bit less. And again, it's not always 20% that are dealing with IBS. Sometimes it can be a little bit less, but Crohn's disease is a little bit less common, at least from the research that I've done. So no problem, Birdman. Thank you for asking the question. And again, talk to your medical practitioner just in case I messed that up. Again, I've done some research and reading on it. Again, I could be wrong. I'm recalling it from the back of my brain right now. I just don't think that there's any evidence to suggest that one can turn into the other. again, it won't always help, but just make sure that you're dealing with the IBS symptoms as much as you can, sticking with these foods, staying away from the foods that definitely aren't good for it. Okay, so again, we have eggs. All right, I say try to have the eggs. All right, some people will go for they might even have a sensitivity to the protein in egg whites, while other people will report sort of problems with the yolk, just because it's a higher in fat. So try to test those guys. I think if you can get the fat, so the yolk, I think that's not going to be a bad thing for you, because that's where all the micronutrients are. That's where all the micronutrients are. That's where more of the protein is. All right. The micronutrients, protein, and healthy fats are all in the yolk. The egg whites have none of that. All right, guys. So that's a big one for us. Now, the other one, all right, and it's going to be very helpful for dealing with irritable bowel syndrome, is omega-3 fatty acids. And again, omega-3 fatty acids are very important. Why? Because omega-3 fatty acids are anti-inflammatory. All right, so within the body, they're reducing inflammation. All right, and especially through the intestines, through the digestive tract. All right, and that's really important when it comes to irritable bowel syndrome. Okay, because we know inflammation is a contributing factor to symptoms of irritable bowel syndrome. So increasing your intake of omega-3 fatty acids, all right, may be a good way to help. So omega-3 fatty acids, for one, you can supplement with omega-3 fats. All right, you can take a fish oil or anything like that. But again, you don't have to. All right, there's a bunch of fish, all right, and things like that, and you don't need to eat them every single day. All right, there's certain fish out there that are high in omega-3s. We've talked about this a little bit before. I think some of the best ones are going to be salmon. I think another one that's been growing on me lately is going to be mackerel. And then sardines are going to be another nice one. Now, I'll throw a couple more out there just because people aren't always a fan of sardines. Some people might not be a fan of salmon. Rainbow trout isn't a horrible one. If it's salmon, try to get wild caught salmon if you can. All right. And then another one not as good as the ones I listed before is going to be herring. All right. But again, if you're not a big fish eater, you can always just take an omega-3 fish oil supplement. And thank you so much, guys. I see that we're at 50 thumbs up here. Thank you so much for the support, guys. I really do appreciate it. Very, very much so. Very, very much so. I'm not sure exactly how long we've been going. For some reason, it's not giving me a time frame here, but 50 thumbs up. It seems very, very fast today. Very, very fast today. So thank you so much for that, guys. I really, really appreciate it. And I really appreciate you guys all for coming in here. And of course, ask your questions, guys. That's why I'm here. I want to answer as many questions as possible. So thank you so much, guys. Now let's talk a little bit about some fruits and vegetables and things like that can help with irritable bowel syndrome. And one of the things with these vegetables, which we're going to list, is it's going to help improve gut flora. All right. Gut flora is good because it's going to help reduce inflammation throughout the digestive tract and through the intestines. All right. So a nice 2-for-1. Not only are you getting all of the micronutrients from the vegetables, but you're also reducing the inflammation throughout the digestive tract and through the intestines. And we already know, all right, irritable bowel syndrome, all right, you're going to be getting inflammation throughout the intestines, and then that's where the pain, the bloating, the gas, that's where all of that comes from. Okay. So your first one, let's just pick a couple of the first ones, which you guys will probably already know. All right, I think maybe a one good one that you probably know is going to be broccoli. Broccoli is a great one. Green beans are a nice one. Now let me give you some that you might not think off the top of your head. Eggplant is a really nice one. Eggplant, again, those purple colors. All right, you're going to have nice anthocyanin antioxidants and anti-inflammatories. So again, if you're having antioxidants, getting rid of free radicals, getting rid of oxidative stress, if you're getting those anti-inflammatories, of course, that's going to be great for reducing inflammation throughout the intestines and throughout the digestive tract as well. So anything purple, all right, is going to be nice. Oh wow, 53 thumbs up. Thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate it. You guys are really, really crushing it today. All right, so I'm just catching up on a few of the questions here. Thank you, sir. Well, thank you so much, guys. 53 upside. What foods are good for diverticulitis? Okay, so that's an interesting question. All right, again, I would speak with your medical practitioner. All right, I'll give you a couple. All right, but again, you're going to want to speak with your medical practitioner. So we know that diverticulitis usually found sort of in the colon, sort of in the lower part of the large intestine. All right. That condition is called diverticulitis. All right. So with diverticulitis, one of the things that we're going to want to make sure that we're eating, all right, it's kind of interesting because there's certain foods that you're going to want to avoid. All right, you're going to want to make sure that you're drinking, all right, a lot of water. That's the first thing. All right, you're going to want to make sure that you're eating fiber-rich foods. So again, that can be beans, that can be vegetables, things of that nature. All right, the foods that you're going to want to stay away from. All right. So again, whole grains can be okay because they can be fiber rich. Beans like kidney beans, black beans, fruits can be helpful again just with their anti-inflammatory and with their fiber. All right, and vegetables like peas, spinach, broccoli. You can even get some squash and sweet potatoes in there. Again, I'm not 100% talking about this because you need to speak with your doctor about this. But just thinking off the top of my head, those of course are going to be the ones that you're gonna want to eat. Foods to avoid for diverticulitis: anything that leads to inflammation, you're gonna want it to stay away from. All right, nuts and seeds can be a little bit tough. Things like corn can even be a little bit of tough. Anything sodium, salt, sugar, processed foods, stay away from those because again, that's only going to make things worse. So Yvonne, I hope that helps. You got to stick with your healthy foods, fruits, vegetables, whole grains, healthy fats, omega-3s, things of that nature. Again, I hope that helps. I just don't like getting into, the medical conditions like diverticulitis. Diverticulitis, all right, it's a very serious disease. All right, a lot of the times you have to, go in there and you might need to, it has to be removed or certain things like that. Sometimes meat can be bad for it if you're not, like some people will be on a carnivore diet and then have problems with diverticulitis and things of that nature. So again, I would speak with your medical practitioner. I gave you a few there that I hope will help. But again, speak with your medical practitioner, Yvonne, and then see what they're saying. I'm sure they'll say some of the things that I'm saying as well. Just stick with those anti-inflammatories and have your vegetables and fruits. Amazing talk. Thank you. We'll be visiting your channel on a regular basis. Well, thank you so much, Rudolph. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much, and thank you for the support. Again, I really appreciate it. And 55 thumbs up, guys. Oh my gosh. I think we might be hitting a new record here soon. You guys are just absolutely crushing it. Okay, so we talked about broccoli, we talked about green beans, some of the things that guys know that are probably going to be healthy for you when it comes to foods that we want to eat with for diverticulitis. or sorry, not diverticulitis. We just talked about that for irritable bowel syndrome. Okay. Carrots can be a good one. Bell peppers can be a good one. Fennel can be a nice one if you want to do that. Water chestnut, zucchini. I'm listing them off here just because I have them written down. But just to slow it down a little bit, guys, broccoli, carrots, bell peppers, not too bad, eggplant, fennel, green beans, and then I'll just give you one more, zucchini. Okay? Just you got to choose your vegetables carefully. All right? We need to be able to tolerate the vegetables. We don't like nightshades sometimes can be tough for some people. All right, it can create inflammation. Nightshades for people with arthritis can be very tough just because it exacerbates swelling and inflammation. So again, it might take a little bit of playing back and forth to make sure that they're right for you. But I think if you're sticking with dark leafy green vegetables, those can definitely be beneficial for you. Oh, my pleasure, Yvonne. Thank you very much for asking your question. I really do appreciate it. Thank you so much. And thank you so much for joining the chat. And thank you so much for the interaction. Okay, guys. So hopefully that helps. All right. And then, you got your other dark leafy green vegetables, guys, like collard greens, kale, all right, Swiss chard, spinach. You cannot go wrong with those types of vegetables, guys. All right, they're kind of like your classics. Like I always say, and I always try. That's why I gave you the few without the spinach and kale and everything like that, because those are almost no-brainers, aren't they? If you're eating broccoli, you're eating kale, you're eating spinach. All right, we already know that those are probably going to be pretty healthy for you. I think collard greens is a nice one. There's one called endive, which you guys have probably heard of before. I think that's a nice one as well. All right, and again, I would just stay away from things like garlic. All right, stick to your raw leafy green vegetables. Again, you can put them in smoothies, you can juice them, or you can have them in salads. All right, and the nice thing about these two, all right, with the dark leafy green vegetables, all right, you're getting a great source of nutrients, all right? And those nutrients and anti-inflammatory compounds are only going to help with irritable bowel syndrome. So stick to that one as well. All right, some people will have tomatoes, but not everyone reacts well to tomatoes either. It's almost like nightshades as well. All right, so again, play around with that just a little bit. I would stick to the dark leafy green vegetables. Arugula is even a nice one. All right, arugula can be a nice one as well, guys. So stick with that. Play around with that. I think if you're having vegetables, it can only help. That's why I was saying before with the carnivore diet, it can be a little bit tough, especially people who are dealing with irritable bowel syndrome. So zucchini, all that good stuff. All right, so let's go to our next one here. All right, so we have nuts and seeds here, guys. So I'm going to give you the best nuts that I think are going to be the most helpful for irritable bowel syndrome. All right, so why are nuts good? Well, one, they're a good fiber source. Two, all right, they're great in protein. And then number three, great anti-inflammatory compounds and omega-3 fatty acids, depending on the nuts and seeds that we're eating. Okay, so if we're eating that, that's only going to help with dealing with symptoms of irritable bowel syndrome. All right, and also the nice thing too is they act as food. They're a food source for healthy gut flora. All right, which again can be good for dealing with symptoms of irritable bowel syndrome. All right. Now, if you're enjoying nuts and seeds, just make sure you're not overdoing it. Make sure that you're eating them in moderation, or else you're just increasing calories too high, and then you could be in a surplus of calories, and we don't want to be dealing with weight gain and anything like that. So, let's talk about some of the nuts first. Then we'll get into the seeds. The one that you guys always know that I enjoy the most, and I always think it's the top of the chain here. I was gonna say food chain, but it's really the top of the nut chain. Almonds. I think almonds are a great one, but you need to limit them. No more than 15. I would stick with 10. I have 10 almonds in the morning, and I'm good to go. That's all I need. I might have it with a little bit of protein, and then I'm good to go from there. The other ones, guys, all right, and we can have some variety when it comes to nuts, because a lot of these are going to have fiber, protein, and omega-3 fatty acids. Some more omega-3 fatty acids than others, but at the very least, you're getting anti-inflammatory compounds. So almonds are good. All right, I would go with walnuts second. Walnuts are a great source. Walnuts are one of your best sources of omega-3 fatty acids. If we're not talking about salmon or mackerel or sardines, all right, if it's a non-fish or meat or anything like that, walnuts are a tremendous source of omega-3 fatty acids. So I would go almonds. I would go walnuts. You can go pecans are a nice one. Pine nuts, and then for a fifth one, Brazil nuts. So again, almonds, walnuts, pecans, pine nuts, and then Brazil nuts, guys. But if you're eating Brazil nuts, just make sure that you're keeping them in moderation. All right, keep them in moderation. You only really need 2 to 3. They're so high in selenium and so high in micronutrients that you just don't want to be overdoing them. Dooley, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. SA great. Sorry, I hope I'm understanding that correctly. Sorry, just trying to understand. Sorry, what's SA? SA great. Sorry if I'm missing something there, but hopefully you're enjoying the chat. Thank you so much for joining today. I really do appreciate it. I don't know, not sure if SA is a type of fruit or something of that nature. But those are the nuts, guys, and it's the same thing with seeds. Okay, high in fiber, high in omega-3 fatty acids. Okay, and again, you're gonna get with nuts and seeds, you're gonna get a great benefit to IBS symptoms. All right, so here's the seeds that I would go with, guys. All right, there's a whole bunch of different varieties, but I think the best ones are going to be one, pumpkin seeds. Again, you guys hear me talk about pumpkin seeds all the time, but for one, they're super high in omega-3 fatty acids. All right, so pumpkin seeds, chia seeds, flax seeds, and then you could even throw sunflower seeds in there. But if I was to choose 3, it would be pumpkin seeds, chia seeds, and flax seeds. Those are going to give you probably the most benefit for people who have IBS. The reason why is, all right, for one, they're a great source of fiber and they're a great source of omega-3 fatty acids. And those omega-3 fatty acids are just going to do a tremendous job of reducing inflammation throughout the intestines and through the colon. All right, because remember, when we're dealing with IBS and anything like that, then we know we need to reduce inflammation throughout the digestive tract and through the intestines. That's where most of the problem is actually coming from. 58 thumbs up. I don't know if we've ever hit 60. Maybe once. Maybe we've hit 60 once, guys. But if we can hit that 60, I would very much appreciate it. That's amazing, guys. Thank you so much. All right, now so one of our last things here, guys. All right. And then we're going to get into some questions just to end here because I want to make sure that I touch on them for you guys. But another one that you're going to want to deal with is, and we need to deal with this. This might be one of the most important ones. So make sure that we're listening to this one because we need fermented foods. Okay, we need things like probiotics. All right, good bacteria for our body. One, again, it's going to help reduce inflammation throughout the digestive tract, throughout the intestines. All right, it's going to help get rid of bad bacteria, which is going to create inflammation throughout the intestines. All right, so probiotics, you can take a probiotic supplement, you can have yogurt, you can have kefir, kombucha, sauerkraut, kimchi, tons of different things. All right, there's even certain teas out there that I think are a little bit high in fermented foods and things like that. But I would go with those ones, guys. As long as the yogurt doesn't have sugar added, I would go with either like plain yogurt or, things of that nature. That way you're getting those active bacteria cultures. All right. And then that way you're getting the probiotics and everything of that nature. And 61, wow, guys, thank you so much. I just looked back and we just automatically crossed 60. So thank you so much, guys. Really appreciate it. But those fermented foods, guys, are so important. All right. Again, it's going to act as a food source to good bacteria, good gut flora. All right. Good bacteria in the gut. All right. And then not only probiotics, but prebiotics as well. All right. Both go hand in hand. The prebiotics set us up nicely for the probiotics as well. All right. So natural strains of probiotics. All right. Good for you bacteria. All right. So again, you can have kefir, sauerkraut. Those are really popular. An easy one is yogurt. Doesn't get much easier than that. If you like kimchi, kombucha, things of that nature, all right, you're going to easily be able to add those fermented foods into your diet. So those are the ones that I would stick to, guys, especially for irritable bowel syndrome. All right, we need to stick to those specific foods. If we're not sticking to the specific foods, all right, then we're only doing ourselves a disservice, because we're only creating more and more inflammation throughout the digestive tract and through the intestines. All right, and if we're doing that, irritable bowel syndrome is just going to get worse and worse over time. And the really unfortunate thing when it comes to irritable bowel syndrome, guys, is that it's a constant issue. It's a day-to-day issue, which again, pain is something that we want to stay away from. Obviously, if you've dealt with pain, that's something that we need to stay away from. If you have stomach pain, if you get cramps and bloating and excess gas, if you've had that ever in your life, you know how much of an issue that can be. It can make just doing the simplest things in life so much harder, all right, and really make life tough. So if we're dealing with irritable bowel syndrome, and plus, our regularity is off, all right? Our regularity is off. We're not getting rid of toxins through the body, all right? It's just not going to be it's just not going to be a great thing for our overall health, guys. So if we're dealing with irritable bowel syndrome, all right, take a look at some of these foods. Take a look at some of the lifestyle changes that we made. Think about it, guys. Getting good sleep, getting constant exercise, eating healthy. These are all things that are going to be able to help us, all right, and increase, all right, our ability to deal with these symptoms of irritable bowel syndrome. Even if we don't get rid of it completely, as long as we're starting, like let's say we cut it in half, all right, that's a great start. And then once we do that, we can just keep going. We can just roll with it. All right. We know the foods. We know the process. Once we have the process down, all right, then we can just continue to get better and better. And again, I would always suggest that you speak with your medical practitioner. All right. That way we know it's not getting worse. And then that way, all right, we can deal with it in extra ways, not just with food, all right, but with other things as well. All right. But these foods are definitely going to be able to help if we're keeping them on a consistent basis, guys. And if there's any other questions, please let me know, because again, this is our first live chat in, I'd say, almost about a month. All right, I thank you so much, guys, for coming in here and asking all of your questions and interacting and showing your support. We're at 62 thumbs up. I can't believe it. It seems like it's just gone up and up. I'm going to try to keep to a regular time here. I'm going to try to at least keep to Sundays. Sundays are going to be my time. Thank you so much, guys, for really supporting the turmeric and ginger video. I think you guys are really going to like it. I spent a good amount of time researching that video. I think it's about 4 minutes, a little longer than 4 minutes. So I think you guys will like it. But to Mel, to Deborah, Rafi, Birdman, Yvonne, Rudolph, Dooley. I know there's a bunch of other people in here. I wish I could scroll up. Say, Paulette, Lyndon, Wadek, Marilyn, Salah, if I didn't say that. Clay, sorry if I missed anyone. Thank you so much, guys, for supporting the channel. I really appreciate it, and thank you so much for supporting the videos. We'll be back next time with another great topic. Right, I got lots. Trust me, over the last month, I've been thinking about topics almost on a daily basis, and videos almost on a daily basis. So I know that we're not going to be running out of ideas anytime soon. So thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate it. Let's end the chat here. Like I said, thank you so much, guys. Is this recorded also on a podcast? That's a great question. I'm gonna start getting into a podcast, and I'm really glad that you brought this up, because what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try to see if I can get it on a podcast. If not, I always post Witted. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. What I always do is I always repost the stream onto my YouTube channel, so you're able to watch it through again. All right, able to listen through again. All right, so you can do it from there. The other thing is I'm going to be creating a Twitter. All right, the Twitter's I'll be promoting that as it goes out, but I want to make sure that I have a Twitter. All right, and even a TikTok, because I can really create information from there just really quickly, like a 1-minute video where you guys are able to get information from there. That's all stuff that's going to come. The main thing right now is YouTube, as it's always been. I've been on YouTube for 9 years, and there hasn't been any other platforms that I've changed to. So YouTube will always be my go-to. But yes, the podcast will always go up on the YouTube channel for now, and then we'll look into other things where we can get them on other platforms. Denise, you're very welcome. Thank you so much for joining today. I very much appreciate having you in here. Deborah, always a pleasure. You have a great day as well. I really appreciate your support as always. Yvonne, very informative. Really appreciate it. Well, thank you very much. I'm glad that you found it informative. Thank you so much. I appreciate having you in here. Learned a lot and took notes. That's great, Mel. Thank you so much. That's great to hear that you took notes. You have a wonderful week as well. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, guys. Again, like I said, I appreciate having you in here. And then I'll be promoting a couple of things as we start building into that as well. Do you mind if we share it to other platforms? Absolutely not, Mel. Which platforms were you thinking? Like a Facebook or something like that? Because I've had people do that before. As long as like my name's in it and things like that, I have no problem with it. But if you want to share the information, by all means, and especially if you're getting the information out there, I think that's what it's all about, right? At the end of the day, as long as I can get as much information out there as possible, then I'm more than happy. And then the interesting thing is too, the socials will have to start coming, just because it's really, when you think about it, the socials, I'm not sure if you guys are on social, like how many social medias you're on. If it's like, I don't know if you're on TikTok and all that different stuff out there. The reason why TikTok is because you can make 1-minute videos and really summarize what's on there. But getting a Twitter out there is fine. Yes, I think that's fine, Mel. I think that's fine. If you just wouldn't mind, if you just include maybe a link to the YouTube channel, and then just have my name in there, if you wouldn't mind doing that, and then posting that to Facebook, I have no problem with you doing that. Just as long as if you can please include in my name in there. Again, no problem. I'm glad that you enjoy the information, and I really appreciate you wanting to share that information with other people. So thank you so much. It's flattering for you to want to put that up there. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And 64 thumbs up, guys. That has to be a new record. Has to be a new record. And look out for a Twitter, guys. Thank you, Mal. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. And look out for a Twitter, guys, because I want to make sure that I get a Twitter on there, and then it'll help with the videos, and then that way you guys have another reason or another avenue to see the information out there. So, and plus I can post more information. You think of all the information that comes, like today, it's almost 4.5 minute video, maybe even a little bit more. There's tons of information, just breaking it down. I feel like in today's world, getting the information out there as fast as possible, just hitting the points. That's what I always try to do in my videos. I see some channels, and it's not right or wrong, but I see some channels where sometimes it's like 10-minute videos or 12-minute videos. That's just not my style. I like to kind of keep it short, hit the points, make sure that you guys can walk away and get as much information as possible. And I think that's great that you're writing down some notes, Mel. So thank you very much, guys. I really do appreciate it. So, but yeah, the live streams are going to continue. The live streams aren't going anywhere. You guys have been showing great support. I was very happy that I was able to get 2 videos up the last 2 days, and then also get the live stream up here today as well. And I would be on the lookout for another video tomorrow, and I'll make sure that it's an interesting one for you guys, where you can get good value from it. As always, that's always my main point. So thank you so much, guys. We'll end it there. I really appreciate all of the support. Thank you to everyone who was able to come in and show your support. Thank you for all the thumbs up. And again, be on the lookout for those videos. They're going to continue to go. And as you guys know, I'm not going anywhere. So thank you so much, guys. I appreciate you all. And I hope you all have a great rest of your, I believe today's Sunday. Yes, Sunday, August 1st. Hard to believe. Mac, how you doing, buddy? Sorry, I'm just about to end here. It's great to see you, Mac. Thank you so much for dropping in. I really do appreciate it. And one thing I'm going to do here, guys, so you guys have a lot of time to make sure that you know when the stream's going to happen. I'm not going to post it usually an hour or 2 before. I'll usually give you about a day in advance so that you know exactly when the stream's going to go up. That way you guys have some time to be able to plan, or just so you know that it's going up. But thank you, Mac, for dropping in. I always appreciate it. Always nice to see the familiar faces, and always great to see new faces too. So thank you very much. Great to hear, Mac. And wow, 68 thumbs up, guys. You guys rock. Great community. Always very proud of this community. I'm doing great, Mac. Thank you very much. Back from a little bit of a break, but we're getting back onto schedule now. Everything's just going to keep rolling. Getting the live streams up, getting the videos up. Those aren't going anywhere. I hope you guys enjoyed the video that went up today. And thank you so much. And big shout out to my super chats out there, and to everyone who thumbed up, and everyone who's just watching the videos. So again, I just appreciate all of you guys. And I really do mean that. So thank you so much, guys. Great, Mac. Good to hear from you. I'm glad you were able to make it in here before the end. So let's leave it there, guys. Thank you so much. Appreciate you all. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday, and we'll keep staying healthy, keep being our fit self, all right, and keep on getting those healthy foods in, all right. So take care, guys. I really appreciate you all, and I will see you next time during our live chat.